Over the course of 2019, we both played one game that we were really excited to try out.
And it may not have been as great as we thought it would be.
Hot take.
It just wasn't good.
Look, folks, every year there's one game you're really looking forward to, one that everyone is talking about, one that you're hyped for, and then when it finally comes out, it doesn't hit all the notes you wanted it to hit.
Yes, I know. There's some things that you wait so long to see released, and you're just like so amped that, and when you get it and your dreams are dashed, it is like, it's even worse than just picking up a random game that's super, super bad. If you pick up a game you're really hoping for, and it really doesn't live up to expectations, but it's still game.
Yeah.
Somehow it feels worse.
Yes, we are not knocking these games for being awful games. That's not what they are, but they failed to land the punch, and in many cases, we don't feel they worked for us specifically, but they may not have worked for others as well. Now, let's start off with you first.
I know that mine worked for at least a couple people, because mine won Game of the Year for several, well, the Game Awards, of course, and you must know by now, it's Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
So why did that not work for you? Because I'm curious.
Hold on, I wanted a pregnant pause.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, so Sekiro, why didn't it work? I'm so sorry. It didn't work for a plethora of reasons, for me specifically. Like we alluded to, this doesn't mean that these games are bad, but Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice was important to me because I got on board with the From Software action RPG train with Demon Souls on the PS3, okay? I had heard about the Demon Souls way back then. It was this hidden sort of gem that came out of other series that I had no idea existed, like Kingsfield, right? So Demon Souls comes out, it's getting these glowing reviews. I'm like, what the heck is this? I get a PS3 specifically so that I can play Demon Souls, because I keep hearing how great this game is. So I pick it up, I start playing, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I love the risk versus reward that's created here. No, it's probably not the first game that's ever done that before, but it's the first one that's melded that together with like the sort of European style fantasy, medieval fantasy.
It's got a very Tenchu vibe to it too, right?
Well, Sekiro does. Sekiro has the Tenchu vibe, but the original Demon Souls, I mean, it's like a European knight sort of
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I got my games mixed up there because when you hear Demon Souls, for me, it's one of those games that really hit a sweet spot for people because that's not an easy game. Many people, I guess, what do they say, Dark Soul or Demon Souls difficulty, Dark Souls difficulty?
They do. It's the Dark Souls of, and the sort of meme is like, get good. Yeah. Just get good.
Yeah. It's not a great meme to exist, but the thing is, it's difficult, but it's difficult with a purpose, like Cuphead, difficult with a purpose.
Demon Souls to me felt like a game that you could, it was difficult, yes, I love the risk versus reward thing, but you could bash your head against that game in many different ways and eventually overcome the knights that are in your way, the giant slime beasts, the dragons that are guarding these bridges. All of these things, like, they felt like a challenge, but they also felt so ingrained in that world. It was so amazing. So going from Demon Souls into Dark Souls, my love for From Software Souls-like games just kept growing. Like, Dark Souls was more of that risk versus reward. You can kind of approach combat from many different ways. It moves on over into Bloodborne as well. The gameplay is slightly tweaked in every iteration of game that I'm talking about, but mainly there are many different ways that you can tackle the games, which is cool. And I kind of like that. Oh, I'm beating myself up, but I can get by. With Sekiro, I hit such a major freaking wall. Game's beautiful.
Yeah, okay? Visually, it's a great looking game. Yeah.
Gorgeous game. Sound design is fantastic. Okay, Tenchu. You mentioned Tenchu.
Yes, yeah.
This this was originally being developed to be a sort of Tenchu title. I believe it was supposed to be a Tenchu title proper. Yeah. But they wound up tossing the name aside. There's so much anticipation there. I really liked what I was seeing in early footage of you sort of using your grapple to get around and stuff. It was so cool. And then when I play it, I don't like to parry.
Yeah, that seems to be a problem with a lot of games nowadays.
Okay, well, yeah, I know you have a title that you had to parry in. What was that?
Star Wars: The Fallen Jedi or Fallen Order. Oh my God, so many Star Wars titles. Star Wars: The Fallen Order.
Yep.
Jedi Fallen Order. I really, really liked that game. I still like it. I think it's the best, but the parry mechanics are just not perfect. There's just a little bit of like, you never feel like you're ever going to master it properly. And I think this game is kind of the same way.
So I haven't had enough experience with the Star Wars title to tell you one way or another. I don't think that the parrying system within Sekiro is broken. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it works the way it's supposed to. It's just, for you to properly parry, it seems like it's different for every single enemy, and that requires you to either like learn very quickly, which I'm not a quick learner, I'm not great at video games, or continuously die over and over again. Now, yes, the Souls games are like that, but this got to a point where it was like masochistic that I would continue. It got to the point where I was facing these samurai warriors and these interesting, very interesting looking beasts and creatures and stuff. And I just could not wrap my mind around it. And it was all parry dependent. I'm not a parrier.
Star Wars is not like that. It has elements of that, but it's not. It doesn't feel like the world is reinvented every time you play it. What you're talking about is very specific mechanic problems. That kind of issue can be addressed through an upgrade or a patch, but it doesn't seem like From Software is the kind of group to do that.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if the mechanics are off necessarily, but when you start playing a type of game, in Sekiro, the developers tried to go out of their way to say, look, this is not your typical Souls or Bloodborne style game. So yes, I know that. But when you sort of train yourself in a specific way or go through those games and you have like an expectation, because so many of the other elements from those games are in Sekiro. Like, it's not completely different.
Yeah.
It's just kind of different in that you can't be a dude with a big club that's kind of just dodging things and then gouging, right?
Yeah.
Which was a tactic that I would tend to use. It was like, no, parry.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yes.
And it relied very much on stealth, which was cool. But at the end of the day, if you don't know how to parry those attacks properly, you're not going to get very far in Sekiro. I almost snapped my game disc. I am not a violent man. Shane, am I a violent man?
No.
Am I a violent man?
No,
I'm not a violent man. But like I restarted this game so many times that I got to the point where I took it out of my PlayStation 4. I looked at it, I grabbed it with my other hand, and I was like, no. I just put it in the case and put it back on my shelf.
Yeah, I've had that experience before. There was a Sonic game I played that pissed me off so much I broke the disc. I actually shattered it. And
you're comparing my experiences to your Sonic game experiences?
But that's what it sounds like. It sounds like that thing where you just can't get over it and it just doesn't work. Now, folks, I would argue that the experience I'm about to talk about is not as bad as your experience with Sekiro. Shenmue 3. I'm a big fan of Shenmue, long running. I've been a big fan of the first two entries for a while. Shenmue 3 isn't a bad game for long fans of the series, okay? If you like the originals and you are just coming off of them, this feels exactly like the same game. In fact, if you were in a vacuum, if you were frozen in time since the last Shenmue game came out to this point, you will see improvements in visual quality and control and even just certain features that feel like a huge leap in quality. But unfortunately, Shenmue 3 takes the exact same game design philosophy as Shenmue 2, as Shenmue 1, and I think what you get there is a game that not a lot of people can get into. And I think that's a problem.
Sure. Well, I certainly I dabbled with Shenmue 1 and 2 a little bit, but I don't I would want to complete those games before going into this one. This seems like the barrier to entry is those first two titles, right?
Yeah. At the very beginning of the game, there is an introduction video that you can watch that basically tells you the entire story of what's happened up until that point so you can play it. Though I think because of how Shenmue was created, you're kind of robbed of that experience unless you actually go play those games. Luckily, there is Shenmue 1 and 2 HD, which I still think are great recreations of those original games. They keep all of the original gameplay intact. But when it comes to Shenmue 3, I think there are a couple of core problems that were not addressed that created a big issue. So for me, initially, when I first kickstarted Shenmue 3, I thought this was going to be the final chapter. That's a stupid thing for me, I know. I probably should have expected not for that to happen. But essentially, Shenmue 3 does not end the story. There's going to be another Shenmue game, we hope, that's going to end the story. And after waiting so long, we were hoping for the ending. We weren't hoping for a continuation. This is a major chapter in the narrative of the world, but from most people's opinions, it's not the major chapter they wanted. It doesn't like continue enough of the story.
I would imagine that even if the game wouldn't have completed the story necessarily, but if it drew the story forward in leaps and bounds, maybe you would have been a little more happy with the title.
I would have been. But then there's also other issues. The game doesn't control like a modern game. It controls like a Dreamcast game, quite frankly. And while I'm okay with that, I think that becomes something that works against a lot of other players.
I think for fans of the series, that's fantastic. But when you're releasing a title and you want to release other titles afterwards, sequels, you have to have a new player base because like you're going to have sort of diminishing returns. Only so many people who played 1 will want to play 2, will want to play 3.
Yes.
Yeah, and it gets more and more difficult to grab more users.
While the game visually looks like an improvement over the original Shenmue's, there's no argument against that. Compared to other game releases of this era, visually it seems to be a little bit off, but I'm not going to knock it for that. That's an artistic choice, I believe, because I don't think that they intentionally created something with such limited facial animations without a purpose for it. But one of the issues that I think a lot of people are having with the game is, quite frankly, the game feels old. Not just in the controls, not just in the way it looks, it feels old in the way that the game is designed, because like I said, it's that original design work from Shenmue 3 that they had created all the way back, just with a new coat of paint over top of it. So there are elements that we have improved over time, things we have made that have increased game design to a dramatic degree, but I feel that this game is locked way back from a point when simple mechanics that have been addressed and fixed have not been addressed and fixed in this. We're using a modern engine, and the engine feels like it's being limited to do something from the past, which is really weird when you think about it. But it's one of those games that you're either going to love or hate it. And unfortunately for myself, it just doesn't work for me. I would have been willing to play this all the way to the end, knowing that it was the story that completed the narrative, but knowing that this isn't the end, I just can't really want to complete it. And the reason is that I know that when I get to the end, I'm going to have to wait again for the next game.
Right, and who knows? Who knows when that's going to come around?
Right.
I think in a world where Yakuza exists, Judgment exists, and the Fist of the North Star game that all have that same sort of like... the Yakuza was taking, you've heard this a million times, taking the formula of Shenmue and iterating on it, and those feel far more modern, right? And to compare those titles to Shenmue 3, there's a huge sort of discrepancy between, how things have evolved. Yeah.
The way that both of these games look for us, you might enjoy them, which is important, okay? These are not awful games. Like we said, they're just games that they didn't meet our expectations as we had them, whether they be lofty and impossible to hit or whatever. They're still kind of ugly to us. Speaking of ugly, we're wearing ugly Christmas sweaters. This is something
good transition, my friend.
You might have seen these last year. We were wearing ugly Christmas sweaters as well. They're gaming.
No other YouTuber ever wears this sweater. Don't mention any names. These are from Numbskull. Right?
They sent them into us and we just wanted to thank them for sending them in.
They
were nice, and you're going to see us wearing them throughout the entire week of content we've got. If you want to know more about their sweaters, head over to numbskull.com/jumpers. I think there's a link in the description if you want to see it. They're well made and everything. They just sent them in for fun, and we thought it'd be really cool. We're not making any profit from this, folks. It's just something we thought might be cool to show off. Anyway, what games did you play in 2019 that were disappointing to you?
Yes, and if you're just going to say, Adam, get good in the comments, I can't parry and I can't stagger things. I just want you to know that. There's like this staggering mechanic too I didn't touch on. I'm backing away now.
I'm probably going to play it and be very good at it. Folks, what did you think about the game? Let us know what you think in the comments below.